Welcome to Could Be Pretty Cool News, the podcast where we dive into the exciting world of creative entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Casey, and together we'll embark on a journey to explore this dynamic ecosystem from multiple angles, including academia, research and data, community building, and compelling personal narratives from creative entrepreneurs themselves. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered as we uncover the stories and strategies behind building successful creative ventures. It's time to discover why the world of creative entrepreneurship could be pretty cool. Welcome to a special episode of Could Be Pretty Cool News, where we're exploring the world of small business leadership and creative services. Today, we had the privilege of hosting an exclusive focus group session with members of the 2024 Truist Foundation Fellowship cohort, bringing together a diverse group of entrepreneurs who are at the forefront of their industries. In this intimate fishbowl setting, our Truist Fellows open up about their experiences collaborating with creative professionals across various disciplines, from crafting compelling brand narratives to designing intuitive websites and producing captivating video content. As they share their stories of partnership and innovation, we gain invaluable insights into how these strategic alliances has shaped the trajectory of their businesses and contributed to their ongoing success. Throughout the conversation, we had the opportunity to listen in on the candid thoughts and unique perspectives of these leaders as they discuss the crucial role of creative services in their operations. From the initial process of selecting the right creative partner to the collaborative journey of bringing groundbreaking projects to life, our focus group participants generously shared their wisdom and expertise. Get ready to discover the untapped potential of creative services and unlock new possibilities for your own entrepreneurial journey. All right, so this focus group is tailored to gain insights from you all as small business owners on how you engage with creative services and creative service providers. Very simple. There are no right or wrong answers. There's nothing that I want to hear from you other than what you actually feel. If you could, the only sort of logistical ask that I have is if you do decide to speak and answer a question, the first time that you do so, if you could just state your name and the name of your business, and what that's going to allow me, I will be running this through later, is it will be able to identify you as a speaker and then label you anytime you speak throughout this focus group. And it just saves so much time with the transcript analysis and such. So that would just be incredibly helpful. But yeah, you can do the hand raise or just jump in. There's no real pretend like we're in a chatting. And so, yeah, if you are ready to jump in, we can do that. So, my first question is about experience and preferences. So, my question for you all is what types of creative services have you used in the past for your business? And so, this can be anything from branding, marketing. If you have a stylist, if you have someone who's done headshots, videography, I know some of you have podcasts, or is that an outside service or person? Yeah, just curious to know what types of creative services have you used for your business in the past?
I can go. My name is Casey Vanning, co-founder and executive director of Helping Empower Youth. And the types of creative services I've used are videography, photography, whether it's for helping empower youths, website and marketing, social media, or even things I've been doing around produce in-house. Been looking to outsource that a little bit, but I've done that. Graphic design, as well to help aid in some of the communication of events and initiatives. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the extent of it.
Thank you, Casey.
Welcome.
I don't know if this
Oh, sorry.
the founder and CEO of the Rebrand Creative Agency. We provide creative services, so maybe it'll help if we give you some stats of like how our first quarter has gone, which is funny because I was just running some numbers. So quarter one, we have serviced over 90 clients, 50 of those being B2C, the rest being B2B. And with that being said, full scale branding or rebranding, rather, redoing their entire brand strategy, taking a look at their social media, taking a look at just their overall presence. Those particular B2C clients have also gone through photo shoots and they've gotten websites done, they've gotten logos redone, they've had some other, like we've introduced this influencer marketing piece now, so they've taken advantage of that and how to find more influencers to help. Services are where it's at. People need it.
Thank you. And yes, and if throughout this focus group, Kayla, you want to present from the perspective of a service provider, that personally sometimes use this service, that's cool too. It's an interesting perspective. So thank you.
All right, Namdi Iheanacho, and my business and Star Technologies. Ways we've used creative services. We have a website, so someone built that for us. It's a big part of how we get people to know about us. Social media is one for us, so we have an in-house social media manager, so a lot of graphics, some kind of event every week. And so there's always some flyers going out. We do have the same person does our video production as well. So we're makeshifting our how we're doing creative work. But it's something so websites, graphics, social media, and there's opportunities for more, but we need to grow.
Good morning. I am Jennifer Ledwith of Learners in Training, or LIT, and I have hired creative professionals to, first of all, branding, overall branding, website design, graphic design. What else have I done? Trying to think of what else. I've hired at least one photographer for professional photographs. I've also hired professional makeup artists. That's all I can think of right now, Case.
Otter. Awesome. So my name is Dieris. I don't know what to call myself. I have a podcast called Co-Play Media. I have the program I'm trying to do, the Co-Play Dev Partner Program. And I've used local government facilities. So I was able to reach out to DC Radio and they allow me to use their producer. And they put it on their website and stuff like that. So I still have mine. They help me out and we team up on stuff like conventions and stuff like that.
Very interesting. I just signed a client that records their podcast in their local library's podcast studio, and I didn't know that was a thing. So that's really interesting to hear that government services are providing spaces for creators to do things. So thank you for that. Ernest.
Hey, my name is Ernest Comer III, and I'm the founder of E. Howard Co. I think the only creative service that I've partnered with outside of what working with a publisher to think through what a book could look like for myself, and then working with that same publisher to partner with another production company to support the podcast that I started. So I think everything else, I think I've leverage has been mentioned before. So.
Very nice. Thank you. And Felicity, so you've been saying stuff in the chat, but also, yes, what creative services have you utilized for your business?
I'm Felicity, CEO of Felicity Digital Lab, and We have in-house makeup artist team, production team, videography, post-production, everything. But the one thing that I didn't hear a lot of people say is we also have a drop shipping team. So a lot of our vendors and wholesalers from overseas in China and India, we use them to white label services for other people who want to launch products and not really do the work. So white labeling will be one additional service from everyone else.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually, if I may ask a quick follow-up for those of us who aren't hip, white labeling services, what does that mean exactly within the context of your business?
Labeling is broad. It could be for anything. So let's just say, for instance, someone wanted to provide PR services in their marketing agency, but they do not have the reach to leverage public relations. They can white label my services and upcharge the service to other people. So the service will necessarily be coming to them through their clients, but we'd actually be doing the work, but they can sell our service. A lot of people do that in all of their industries. We can use Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner. They have the same white labeler for their makeup products, but they're packaged and branded differently to show you that they're a completely different product, even though they're the exact same product. There's a bunch of different white label sites where you can actually purchase like skincare, hair products that are already created. And so it saves the guesswork of trying to work because the products already work. And then you just market it and brand it and sell it. So that is a white label service.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Wow. Okay, next we can go with Erin.
Hi, my name is Erin Smith. I'm the founder of the Smith Enterprise. For creative services, I actually don't normally do any. That's something I'm looking to get into. I always was more so on the back people's creative services. So it never really dawned on me that I would need to do it for myself. And it's something that I've recently accepted that I'm gonna have to do for myself because all of my business is word of mouth. I'm just like, I like word of mouth. I know you're coming through someone. I know what to, but definitely looking to get out of that. One thing I did enjoy doing before, something that I was looking to bring the podcast, was when I worked with the theater for our specials and like new movies and stuff. I did all of the commercials and I really like commercial creating. So I was thinking about somehow incorporating that because it was like Eclipse Theaters exclusives. And so it was the monthly specials and then whatever events we had coming up. And then we had like little skits, the wording, the verbiage for how we were going to explain the food. And so I really enjoy doing that. And that's something that I would like to somehow transition, but I don't want to, yeah.
Okay, so thinking about potentially serving as your own creative service provider with you as talent and creator. That's real. Thank you.
Hey there, good morning. My name is Sherelle Bird. I actually have 3 businesses. I have a marketing agency, which is the BAM agency, that's branding, advertising, and marketing agency. I do have as well as Sawika Rising, which is my nonprofit. So we, like everyone else, have hired web developers, social media developers, social media consultants that handle like our analytics, photographers, videographers. I think the one thing that I hadn't heard is I had an opportunity to hire we write speeches and help with my public presence for my public speaking engagements. And so that was worth its weight in gold to have that type of a coach to guide me to be a better public speaker and improve my public image. And then makeup artists, as well as executive coaches. I don't know if that would count as well, but so yeah, I love supporting entrepreneurs. And so that gives me that while I could do a lot of these things, just being able to spread the love and allow other people to do these things as well. Yeah.
Okay, brief follow up for you. So you mentioned an executive coach. Is this someone who you would say helped you to feel more creative or think more creatively in some way?
Absolutely. Executive coaches tend to help with strategy. And so they not only help you in terms of taking control of your time, which is also a great reason to hire others so that you can free up your time to do work, but they also show you how to be like my executive coach. I don't know if everyone does this, but my executive coach is specifically a business coach, but they also have their own marketing firm as well. And so they were able to help me understand how to use graphic design, use my profit better, my LLC better, and then how to brand myself better, able to just navigate all of those things. But I think because mine specialize in social media, graphic design, and all those other types of branding and marketing tools, they really helped me to expand more in this area. Yeah, you're welcome.
And Olivia.
Morning. So my name is Olivia Nadine, and I work with the shop on MLK. And because I have a retail store, one of the creative aspects is actually window painting. And so working with local window painters to make a creative display for the window and then muralists for the inside. So when excuse me, so when people are coming in, they're able to interact with that. And then the other one is that I do merchandise. And so working with DTF printers and screen printers. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. And I see people have like put things in the comments later because again, my multitasking ability is not good. But thank you all so much for providing this great baseline context of the different types of creative services that you all have engaged with. And so I'd like to move into questions about finding and selecting your providers. And so my next question is service providers that you utilize? Is this from word of mouth, referrals, online platforms? And a follow up question is what factors typically influence your decisions when choosing a provider? So, what is it? Reviewing their portfolios, pricing, reputation, etc. So, again, the question is where do you typically find the creative? What factors influence your decision when selecting a creative service provider?
I just jumped in there. So mostly referrals for me. Every now and then I may do a quick Google search for something, but a lot of times I'd say referrals. And then I usually look at their portfolio and their rates. So rates for me are important because I don't mind paying more if the quality everybody has like the same quality output. I'm just gonna go with whoever the cheapest is. If there's somebody that's doing something above and beyond, or I like the aesthetic more, I like their approach to it more, and it's a little bit more expensive, I'm willing to pay the money for that. So I'm not looking for just who is the gonna be the least expensive. So I definitely take a look at that. And then I take a look at the phone and everything is through a form, I'm usually not going to work with you. And I understand people need process and organization. Direct me there after we have a conversation. But if I can't get you on the phone to walk through an idea, or if I have a question and need some clarity around something, and everything is, oh, well, everything's on the website, or fill this out first.
So you're saying customer service in the process is a big
Yeah.
factor for you.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. All right. So I'll move on to Handland. And so the first one is Jennifer on my screen.
Okay. So how did I take it? Will you restate the question, please?
Where do you typically find creative service providers? So is that from referrals, from online platforms, from the Googling, or and also what factors influence your decision when you're choosing a provider? So is it looking at their portfolios, their pricing, reputation, etc.?
Okay, it's changed over the course of the time I've been in business. When I first started, I really just wanted someone who can do just like the basic level. It was more of I was looking more website, and if you can do the website, I can write the copy for it. It was cheaper, and so for me in the beginning, it was more of a focus on cost, and I would go to what is that Upwork or what is it or what is it now called? I can't remember what it's called now.
Fiverr.
Fiverr, yeah, something, yeah, whatever the precursor to Fiverr, one of those precursors. I would do that. Over time, what I've been looking for is more over time as I've gotten more money and less time. Before I had more time and less money. So now that I have, different seasons. So now that I have a little more money and less time, I'm looking for somebody who can really see the big picture, and I'm looking for value and someone who produces quality. I get people so back then it was Fiverr or referrals from people. Hey, I know your kid has graduated. Can they do this flyer for me? But then what I started to do is I started to look for more professionals. So my most recent branding expert I've engaged, I found her. I get an email from the Houston Area Urban League hosts this series on entrepreneurship, and it brings in speakers. And I saw one of this, and I said, "Oh, I like the work that she's doing." And I met. We've been riding together ever since. So that's how I choose I was just like and she's African American woman. She's young. She's probably maybe, I don't know, 10 years younger than me, and just very committed to her work and committed to my brand. So that's how I chose that. So it just depends with the seasons in life. It just depends on, I may be in another season where I may have more time and money. So I have to do something else, right? But yeah, that's it.
So that leads me to a brief follow-up question. Is you've met people in person. Do you have a preference between prioritizing local creative service providers or remote providers?
Cool. So my person is local. She's local, even though I haven't met her in person since probably 2019. We conduct our meetings virtually, but it's really important to conduct. It's important to me to support local talent. I just think that they can probably understand things in Houston a little better. The dynamics in Houston, and also another thing is that we can help each other. We can introduce. It's very important to me that local is more important. Although I am open to people who are not here in Houston.
Thank you. And actually, what you just said is making me realize the volume of that question a little bit more. Handland, I'm going to come back to you in 1 second. But Casey, if you wouldn't mind to tag this on to your previous answer, I'm sorry I didn't ask preference between local creative service providers or remote folks that you find through Fiverr or find through any other online resource.
I prefer local for certain things. Of course, if it's videography, photography. Outside of that, I don't really have a preference. I am thinking I have used Fiverr quite a bit. I've also used a graphic designer who was like in Phoenix, Arizona. Um, so it just really depends on what I need, who's gonna offer me the best service at the best rate. If it's something that does not require any physical presence, then you can be wherever. It doesn't matter to me for things that I know I need to see you and that kind of thing. So be local.
Great. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
All right. Namdi, again, to restate the question, how do you typically find the creative service providers that you use and your decisions when choosing those providers?
So I think just like Jennifer at the beginning, it was me trying to learn everything from building, creating funnels and click funnels and landing pages and all of that manual work. I think all of the first set of creative things we did helped too. That I guess my next source would be my wife. She is good with copy and things like that. Now she will not write, but she will tell me where all of my mistakes are. So that's well, till tomorrow she still does that. And then I think Felicity mentioned this in the chat, but a lot of currently now I have plenty, like most of my social media person, it's based in the Philippines. Recently left, it's based in Nigeria. So it's a lot of overseas people because of the price. Pricing, it's just cost of the like solopreneur. It's you don't have a lot of money to spend on, and so you get close enough quality of work, but with the lower costs. And Fiverr is a good place I've used. Onlinejobs.ph, Philippines, and even websites, different people. And then I have local for just friends that do photography or maybe cover graduation events for me. I've leveraged the heck out of my personal connections. And those are some of the places I found out. My preference, I'd love to, I think it's easier to hold people accountable that are local. I think it's because of how competitive the creative services world is here, you can't really thrive if you're not really good. So I feel like there's a better pool of creatives here. But again, you cut your coat according to your wallet. And so that's the reason why we go outsource some of these things. But I also like especially hiring from Nigeria. I think I found some fulfillment doing that just because it's like I'm helping people back home. It goes a lot farther for them. So yeah.
Very interesting. There are a lot of points I'm like putting a pin in. If we have time, I would love to gauge some questions about, you said sometimes, the quality it's good enough. And I'd be curious to know about how folks evaluate quality of things, but we'll put a pin in that. Thank you so much.
As someone that hires creatives, my top thing I'm looking for is originality. I can spot a template a mile away. It's just this how it is. My brain is very wired to. I have an eye for creative design, and so when I'm looking at other people's apps, this is the same Canva flyer I keep seeing. Like cannot, not for my agency at least. Like my clients thrive on originality, and that's what we provide. So I'm always looking for that for creatives, but I'm also looking for a particular passion for what they're doing. I think I paid my dues in contract work, and so now I have people that like want to work here because this is their job and they get paid. So, I'm looking for individuals like that. Background. When I first started my business, I was dead set on only hiring individuals that look and felt like me as far as everything. Like I wanted to hire my people to work in this agency because I felt like we were not given the shot, the chance, the opportunity to do something great. I think that especially with Black creatives, we're often pushed to the side as the top choice because we know our value, we know our worth, and people don't want to pay the best of the best in those particular fields for what we're offering in business. I was even told by someone else, that another Black woman, that I was never going to break $1 million by hiring just Black people. And so I took that as a challenge. I took that as a challenge. And when I did break my first million, I then decided that I was going to hire out for everyone else, because even in that aspect, when we're looking what we do, there's always that quote unquote diversity that they're looking for. And I put that in quotes because I believe that diversity isn't skin deep. We can all look the same and have different cultural backgrounds and be very diverse in this room. We're all very diverse in this room, and we all may look exactly the same. That is what I'm looking for in creatives. At this point, I want it to be original. I want you to have a passion for it. And then I want to see just how I have what's called a warm, demanding style. Like I am funny, I joke, but get my shit done. Don't miss a deadline because I'm gonna flip out type of thing. So that's the kind of energy that I'm looking for. People that can shake with that.
Just hope you all know, I just like, oh, Namdi, yeah, how do business owners rate the quality of work that they're receiving from creatives? So many things that you just said, I'm like, as a person who hires other creators who are now using these tools that allow them to use templates, and for some folks, like that's a lifesaver because that's the only way they can get their messaging out. But for you you're working with higher tier, to have that originality and to not just be like, I that's like a separate study in a way that at some point I would love to poke you about as a hiring manager of creative. So thank you for that. Felicity.
Hey. Okay, so in terms of where I go, I do personally like referrals. I feel like the people who refer people to me know, so they know, okay, this person may be good and this person may not. Outside of personal referrals, I really enjoy social media. I like to see where people are, how they post, get a feel for, again, their personality and also work ethic, but then also the quality of work that they present. Like, definitely send me your portfolio, but also send me your social media. I need to know what you do outside of work. In terms of factors, quality is very important to me, like the equipment. Of course, like Kayla said, the work. I love Canva for many things. Graphic design is not one of them, simply because I'm contracted to corporations and Canva is a liability legally. And we'll talk about that another time. Of course, the quality there. Turnaround, how long is it going to take? Because the longer that something takes, the less money I can probably make up of it. Flexibility is another thing that I'm really big on because, for instance, we love to edit everything. Who has a reality show called The Expats. And we talked about basically how hard it is to find someone who can make a storyline interesting. Anybody can have a camera and work a camera and record a story and have hours of footage, but the right editor can make all of that footage into something interesting. And I've experienced a lot of times with creatives out here, they have the passion, they have the look, they have like I have mastered. So if I cannot edit the work that you provide and you give it to me everything in raw, I don't want to work with you. Also, I'm a low maintenance type of boss. I don't want someone calling me every day and asking me 1,000 types of questions. I'm not a micromanager. I want someone who is driven, self-motivated, who I can give a project to and they can take off and run with it. And then another factor would probably be price. Like Nandi said, I am of work is a little bit better, as he said, because they have more motivation and the dollar does go further overseas. But then also the cost is a lot cheaper. And for me, I'm really big on profit. How much can I make in terms of staying in the States? But then also, if it is someone who is in the States, I'm usually looking to work with people who are in the beginning phases or scaling phases. They're typically cheaper, like growth and expansion mentality with just like learning and being a team player. So I'm never looking for like, those big people. So those are my factors and where I go.
Very interesting. Thank you. We'll hop to Ernest. Ernest, question is, where do you typically find your creative service provider decision when choosing those providers?
Yeah, so I like to work with people I like. And so I generally end up in these situations where it's somebody I've been familiar with over time, seen with other people because I want to work with good people. And sometimes it's a win and sometimes it's a learning experience because it's for me, I think it's more important that I work with good people than it is that I get access to the greatest quality. And so I'm more invested in the quality of relationship than I am in the quality of the product. And so I affected in some of the outcomes that I've seen, good or bad. Time, I think Jennifer mentioned like as time goes on, that may shift. And I've seen some shifts in a number of different ways, but I'm still heavily invested in the value of relationships and heavily invested in connecting with people who I can work. Now the quality may not be ideal, but over time, the hope is the quality strengthens And now, not only do I have great quality, but I've got a great relationship with the person who produces great quality. And that's all built on getting clear on my expectations, getting clear on what their capacity is to produce, and eventually getting to a place of really strong harmony. So,
Nice. Melody, how we doing?
All right, all right, all right. I am, how can I put it? It's, I don't want to say I'm just team international, like team overseas. I'm team everybody. I'm giving everybody a chance, honestly. I'm working with people overseas. If you're local, if you're out of town, we're working together. I'm very flexible. I understand. I'm more of the compassionate, understanding person. As long as you're consistent, you know what I mean? You're hardworking, you're passionate, you have great customer service. Like I said, a quick turnaround. If you have that drive, I will work with you. And you could be fresh out of college or whatever, or just a freelancer. I'm willing to give everybody a chance because you got to start somewhere. And in order for you to get to that high level and be a seasoned somewhere, and somebody's got to give you a chance. And I'm that person that's going to give you a chance. Also, I find a lot of these people from Fiverr. I find people from word of mouth. I am one of those people that get suckered into the Facebook ads and the Instagram ads. If you are in the marketing field, keep marketing because I'm the one that's going to keep on clicking on that post and going to the website and seeing the Facebook ad. I have bought so many clothes and so many different things from Facebook ads, Instagram ads. I'm willing to give everybody a chance. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited about new things, new products. I'm like, oh, let me give this a try. Like, I'm that person, I'm that consumer that I will definitely support you. I will definitely support you. I will definitely be there for you. I will definitely see what you got going on and I will buy it. And like I said, video commercials, when you will watch the YouTube video and I will skip it. I won't skip past that because I want to see maybe I might need something and let me give them a try. And then sometimes it's a good look. So again, I am definitely that person. I'm going to support everybody.
Nice. Thank you, Melody.
Mhm.
All right. And so we can move on to Amanda.
Yeah, so I saw in the chat, where do you find creative service providers and how do I make I almost exclusively hire on Upwork. I'm on Upwork at like probably at least 5 to 6 times a day. Upwork should really endorse me and sponsor me because I spend so much money on Upwork and the array. I'm a big fan of outsourcing. I almost exclusively outsource almost everything. And I do not feel any guilt about I think the what's great about our country is that you can charge whatever you feel like is appropriate for your services. However, people have gotten, I think, just out of control in a lot of capacities with just tacking on an astronomical price. Like you can't say I service small businesses and then charge these small businesses $300-400 for comparable providers who are better than you are charging a fraction of, and it's not necessarily that they don't know their worth, but in the market, considering like market demand, and I don't want to tell people, oh, you're not worth that or whatnot, but I have to think about keeping my business and my doors open and my entire budget. Like I have a lot to do with the smaller amount of money, right? Better and you're not offering something exceptionally different. I also think because of the nature of my business or whatnot, oftentimes when we're helping business owners onboard onto technology, not everybody has an unlimited budget to do this. So we have to think about who they are as entrepreneurs, who you best work with as an entrepreneur, depending on the demands of your lifestyle. You have to work with where you're still going to be able to maintain your livelihood and accomplish the goals within your business. There's a stat out there that says most Black women business owners only make around $24,000 a year, and only 3% of them make it past the 5-year mark. And I think a lot of that is because sometimes when we go into our business, we think, okay, we need to buy the most in service provider because that proves that we really care about our business. But sometimes we have to be more lean in order to survive when it starts. Another element I like about this is just also the dollar really stretches in a lot of these markets. And so I'm providing good money to people in places where they would not. With my graphic designer, she lives in Peru. I've been working with her for at least 6 years. I have developers in South Africa, and and then there's people certain countries that I hire for more often. The Philippines and Kenya, I tend to get all my virtual assistants or any type of executive assistants from those countries because I think they're better at it. I get a lot of software. There's a lot of really great software developers in Argentina, although they are a lot more, they're comparable to US or Canadian prices. And so I've done this for a long time and I find it works for me. I think another thing that I really appreciate that people don't talk enough about is the time difference, right? So we are always working in sync when I outsource. So, for example, I can 6 to 12 hours ahead of me. I can send it to them in the evening. I can go to bed. That assignment is done by the time I get up, right? Then I can send them feedback, create another assignment. They go to sleep. And by the time the day passes and I get up, they're working on it again. So it's just there's this constant flow where if I'm working on the same time zone or something like that, there's a lag there, right? Like I'm going to probably have to work and wait another 24 to 48 hours possibly to get it. But if you're 12 hours ahead of me, we can move a lot quicker. And so we're like a little Swiss Army knife. So I am very pro outsourcing and I've had I tell people this and I tell my students this all the time. I've had amazing experiences outsourcing exclusively. But I've had amazing experiences. I've had poor experiences abroad, but I've also had amazing experiences abroad. And I've also had terrible experiences domestically where people just fucked me over, right? And they did it because they could and they got a lot of money for doing it. And so I've been doing this long enough where I know how to vet people. I know what I'm looking for. What are the red flags? What are the yellow flags that you should be looking for when you are interviewing a contractor, both domestically and abroad? So I'm pro outsourcing, big fan. And I'll stop talking from there.
No, and again, no right or wrong answers. We appreciate this is like the global perspective of how you all are saying is 10 different research projects potentially. There are questions from the chat, like asking just from that exchange, like, what sites are you using? Is there an evaluation of these sites that is a comparison that could help there's just so much that's here. So thank you all for that. And so as we are wrapping up, I like to actually end. A lot of people don't like to end focus groups with the hard stuff. But to me, hopefully we've opened up enough to the point where it's okay. I know this is a safe place. Nobody's going to like side eye me or whatever. So I can like, be honest with what I'm thinking. And so that's where we're going to end now. And Amanda, you almost perfectly set me up for this segue. So this next and final line of questioning is about challenges and pain points when it comes to or even in finding creative service providers for your business. And my question is, have any of you, and it sounds like some of you have, encountered any communication issues or misunderstandings during project? And have you ever been disappointed with the outcome of a creative project? And if you, within reason, wouldn't mind telling us about that story, that's where we are. During project, and have you been disappointed with the outcome of a creative project? And we will start with Casey.
That I am disappointed when the service provider they're rushing to get my deliverables to me on time or maybe a little beyond the agreed upon time. And I can tell that it's rushed. Sometimes that is, they just have a lot of clients at that time. Life be lifing for us all. I'd rather that person communicate, hey, I need an extra 2, 3 days, whatever that looks like. I try my look like from me, and I do my best to secure their services in enough time when neither of us can be rushed. And if I know I am the reason for a rush job, I will sometimes offer additional compensation, like if they have a rush fee or renegotiate the rate in order to move me up the line a little bit. But that's if I know to work with them. There have been times where time wasn't an issue and I was still just very disappointed. It was almost as if that person oversold their skill set and then the deliverable did not match that. And then there are times where I thought I was very clear about, let's say, a video treatment. This is how I want the recap video to look and feel and all of that. And I didn't get that. So sometimes you have to, just cut your losses. You have to, just understand money wasted and got to start all over sometimes. I mean, I've had that happen with hairstylists, right? You did. Now I gotta go find somebody else to do my hair next week. It's the same thing with graphic design sometimes or with a video edit. So yeah, I don't think that anybody who does this work often is going to, unless it's someone in-house that you have basically trained and they work solely for you, you're going to have some missteps. Someone you choose is not always going to get it. I think that's just par for the course and just try to do due diligence each time to ask different questions or know where things didn't happen appropriately and know how to mitigate that going forward. Real quick, I will give you an example. The videographer that I usually go to first, he's slow. And I know this. I learned that the hard way the first time. And my patience and my attitude, but he does really good work. If I want to continue using him, I know that I have to do two things. One, make a decision quicker if I want videography for this and put it on his radar very soon, and then have a very detailed conversation with him about what it is that I want as my end result. That usually painfully slow. And I think there's some other things going on there with him and his processing and how he executes. But once I get it, I'm always well pleased. So for me, it's worth it to do something else on the front end in order to get what I need from him versus just saying, let me go find somebody that's going to work faster. It's probably going to charge me 3 or 4 times. Flexible because he always gives me something extra. He always shows up on time. He always makes sure that I have the best experience. So for me, it's worth it to just work with him a little more on the front end than just go get someone who I don't have to give as much information to or who could possibly work faster but won't have as much customer service or won't give me.
Very insightful. Thank you. Kayla.
I'm so glad for this question because I'm ready to tell my story. Okay. The first thing is I'm gonna give you a brief one. I'm gonna give you the one that's been like painstakingly on my heart since it happened 3 years ago. So the first one, we hired a marketer who presented herself as this all-star award-winning these awards And I was like, all right, bet. Like, let's see what you got. Let's see what you're shaking with. We were at this time branding a school, a new charter school that was coming up, and it got down to the marketing piece because she's got to get all this community engagement and da da da. And so I am the type of leader that I like to give you the assignment and I like to walk away and come back and be done because what you say you can do, right? And certain things, especially in the fields of marketing, have to be like, I can use syntax in a sentence. Like I can like type words that make sense. I can spell check. I get this very nice, nasty email from our client who has had the marketing go out and there are misspelled with the actual strategy that I had worked so hard to put in place. When we had the conversation about it, she was like, oh, she didn't provide any edits. I was like, first of all, it's not her job to provide the edits. It's your job to provide the edits. Why would we ask our client to edit her own captions? That makes no sense. So that's one. The second one was with this intern issue. It's probably like the energy surrounding this client was like too much. We had a event where the housing situation fell through. Anytime I'm having something where I need my production team to come in or I need people to come out of where they are, I'm giving them a place to stay. I had booked this hotel, scammed me out of the money, terrible experience. And this client says, okay, they can just stay there. It was like literally people are in town. We've got to make something happen in the next hour or these folks are not going to have anywhere to stay. So we're like, all right, cool. Let's just let her stay there. It's not a big deal. So my production team is 3 of them at this point. They're all staying in this house. I found out after the event that one of our interns had asked our client to live in the house. Like I'm just not staying there at the moment. He then proceeds to try to date her to then gain his play. It's a crazy story. You weren't here for that. But at this point, and then to his fault and to the client's fault, because she didn't say anything to me either about it. I found out about this after he had been living in the damn house for a week because she said that he could stay there for a week. She only calls me when she says he's not leaving. Why would you say he could stay there? So all of it is ridiculous. And when I have to have a conversation, because it's like one of like 7 issues that have happened with this intern. And at this point, you ain't really making me no money. You causing me stress. I'm about to let you go. Like I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be open. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. But I'm over it at this point, right? We have this what the holes were. At this point, I have someone that's over the interns. So I'm talking to her about like, how did we miss all of this? We fix all of that. So the intention of going into this meeting was just to provide some correction. Like, hey, you don't ask our clients to live with them or date them. That's not how you do business. This young man proceeded to tell me that actually, as being an intern, I need to hire him on. It's almost like he looked at me and said, yeah, F all that you talking about, I need you to hire me full time, right? Because I've been doing a lot of work. And his exact words to me were, I'm helping to build your agency. So my quality of work speaks for itself. And I've got a degree from SCAD. I had lost all patience. Because at the end of the day, you leave here, sweetheart. I don't need people who feel entitled to what I've built. As I said, so you know what? I'm going to divert this conversation. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Because even in that midst of the conversation, he says, I'm interning with you, but like, you should put me with bigger names. Like I know you guys have connections at Hulu. Like I need to be interning over there. I said, I don't know who you think, who's going to allow you in their space? Because I'm not giving you a recommendation. I don't understand. These folks very much so entitled to whatever they think the reality of the situation is, because it ain't that. It ain't that. This happened 3 years ago. I'm still hurt about it. I'm still upset about it because the reason I even had this intern is not because I chose him. I didn't select him. One of my partners begged me to give him an opportunity. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I trust you. I'm not who you're referred to anymore. If you're not going through that intern assessment to see if you can sit with this culture and it's not going to essentially piss me off, I'm good on it. I'm good on it.
So much to unpack there. And I think that, okay, I'm just do this quickly so we can get through everybody. Oddly enough, the things that you're talking about in this just casual grad, the reason that I got to go to Olivia's spot in Savannah is because they actually called me and asked me to come and mentor some students who are about to graduate looking for jobs. They have their own in-house department, SCAD does now, to study Gen Z and as they're prepping for the workforce, because they're finding that these students are super talented because they're digital native. They grew up, they can learn all the tech and all the things, but if there's something missing with them being able to adapt to the workforce.
It's
So there's literally like a department that's studying this now. So I just want you all to see again the connection between having conversations with the people actually like being able to study topics to help hopefully better this situation, because it's a real thing that's happening. So thank you. All right. Crazy. And again, this would also just make great regular podcast fodder. So crazy. So the question, have you encountered any communication issues or misunderstandings during projects? And or have you ever been disappointed? Jennifer.
The answer to your first question is yes. The answer to your second question is yes. But I think largely it was the first time I had been writing copy for everything that I had done for years. Site was in charge of writing the copy. And so when I looked at it, I was like, this isn't good. Like I went in there and I found all these grammatical mistakes. So I think I probably should step back and remind people what I do. I spend a lot of time. I spend a significant amount of time poring over grammar with my students, and I spend quite a bit of time just writing. I'm a writer. So for me to let go. So I just had to look at the copy, and there were things in that copy where I wouldn't have written it like that. But I said, you know what? I have more important things to do, and I got to let this go. And this is really, if I were someone who didn't write and who didn't help students write for a living, if I were an average writer, then I probably would have looked at that copy. Where I'm coming from with my standards, and I said, no, you just got to let it go. So I think that was the main thing for me, the disappointment. I think it was more of me needing to say, that's just good enough. Let's move. Because it really wasn't, again, if I was like an average reader, average writer, it'd be okay. So I think that's all it was. I think it was more of a me thing than a them thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Felicity.
Hey, for me, I have actually had some amazing feedback with pretty much everyone who works with me, and they're like, you're the easiest person to work with. I'm extremely detailed, and I provide information in the way I want information provided to me. As a creative and someone who runs a marketing agency and provides all of these services, I know how I would like someone to bring me the information. So when I'm sending it over, it's formatted, it has links, it can't do that. However, on the flip side, when I do work with clients who come in and I know Kayla knows what I'm talking about, there's some people who have no understanding of the verbiage related to the things that they want. They see things on Instagram and they have inspiration, and I'll, for instance, use the famous birthday cakes right now. Everyone's like, I like that vintage birthday cake. We all know what it is. There's a name for that. Coming over, they're like, I just want something that like stands out, and I want it to be vibrant. I want it to pop. And then also we work with higher profile of brands. I'm not putting glitter in a profile. I'm not doing that in the logo. I also don't believe in putting images in a logo. And I'll speak to that in terms of an example, hairstylists. Hairstylists love to have scissors, wands, bundles, not see the need for all of that in the design. And I always like to explain from a standpoint of when you go to a plaza and you're on the plaza, similar to the Chinese people or the Black people, it's always like Katisha's salon, hair, sweets. And then underneath you'll see nails, right? You know why they do nails? Because people don't know your brand yet. You are not KFC or Google or so. Do know what you provide. Nail salons, specifically the Chinese people mostly, they just advertise nails because that's what they do. I feel like when you become a household name, you can just put your logo and it is enough. So that is what I experienced on the other side. So I think it's just very important to be clear in what your ask is when working with any brand. But I think from a creative side, also being very clear in asking for what you need. Give little to no information. They feel like they've communicated everything and then they get something and they're like, that's not what I asked for. But it actually is. I'm in a space of now knowing if I get something from somebody, immediately respond back like, hey, this is not going to work for me. I need you to provide a little bit more detail, give a little bit more clarity. And also, I'll even go into depth about examples of as to what it is that I need. But then taking it a step further and also is going to exceed time until I get this in return. So I think communication is the biggest thing in this space, but I have personally been free from this problem for a while. Hallelujah.
Yes, congratulations. Thank you, Felicity. And Namdi.
All right, so good. So many good stories. In terms of just misunderstanding and disappointments, I think some of the things Felicity just pointed out might be some issues I've had in terms of because one way when you're hiring from Upwork or Fiverr or even online jobs, it's you want to see a portfolio. What have you done before? And I feel like a lot of people just have this bloated portfolios that look good and then for like as technical as I am and I've done different things, you're not an expert at everything. An interview. And then I've hired people and it turns out you're not all your portfolio says. And so I think that gets frustrating. I've had to let go a website person before because I felt like the work wasn't being done on time, but I started figuring out, I think he's not even the one doing the work. And so he gets the assignments from me and then, so it depends on when he's give feedback and say, hey, this is not, can you change that? Can you change that? Like simple changes will take so much time to get done. So I started doing the math. Yeah, you're not the one. So I had to let him go with that. I also brought on someone from a Kenyan guy. I wanted to have somebody in-house to help me run ads. And the interview was so good. And the guy was if you meet good African men that talk, he did a good job. Like, he was very smooth in his interview. And he came on the team. He couldn't get along with anybody. Never got one thing delivered. He just had a big game talk every time we had meetings, but nothing came out of it. Not one thing. That was the shortest step I'd had. Someone that worked on my team because I was like, you don't know what you're doing. But he just had a good BS around every conversation. It was difficult to call him out or pin him down to. I had to let him know because now paying you nothing is being done. I'm trying to have somebody help me get myself in front of people. So those were a couple of experiences I've had. There's been a few again, just miscommunication with expectations. Let them know that's what I'm looking for, and they hear something else. I think it's mostly with myself and Philippines. There's sometimes it's been that okay, maybe it's me and it's like I have an accent, you have an accent, and then we're just jamming. It tends to be fun sometimes. So, but once we get to, I think now I've gotten to a place where with them, I have a couple of people who are my team now that I've been with for a while. So my social media person has been with for 4 years. My So they are my make sure I'm communicating the expectations clearly, and they understand the business so well now. And they've seen me work with it. So they're able to help me with making sure there's no gaps in communication like that.
Great. Thank you so much, Namdi. And to bring us on home for the day, Ernest, have you during projects, and have you ever been disappointed with the outcome of a creative project?
Yes, I'm from Minnesota, and when George Floyd was murdered, the organization I was working with wanted to commission some research on public safety agency. A couple of ladies who have done research for a long time in the community, and they did a great job. Put together a ton of information and insight for us, and it was very early in the level of understanding that we had about what had happened was a little shaky because it was an ongoing event produced. We realized quickly was a challenge. So there's a network. We had about 1,500 people who we were trying to be attentive to. So we put together a focus group to come in, take a look at the research paper, and let us know how they felt about it. That focus group felt like the voice of the writing didn't match the voice of the people. And so when we brought frustrated because their intent is not to provide the voice of the people, their intent is to provide the voice of knowledge and understanding around the context of the situation. Uh, but our organization exists to provide voice to community. And so it was a really frustrating and difficult situation to navigate. At the end of it, we that had been done or published the research that had been done. And it was really tragic, just based on the need for knowledge and information at that time and the need for voices to be heard. So that was a really tough experience for us that I wish I didn't have to experience.
Thank you all for your contributions. This is invaluable beyond belief. And hopefully it just demonstrates why I'm like, oh, podcast is nothing but a vessel to have conversations with people. And fortunately, it's a vessel that in a lot of ways allows me to have conversations with people who otherwise wouldn't have conversations with me. Yeah, y'all have helped me out a great deal. Thank you so much. And yeah, looking forward to the next time we do this. So I'm done now. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Until next time, we encourage you to continue nurturing your process. Farewell, and may all of your creative endeavors flourish. Could Be Pretty Cool News is a Could Be Pretty Cool original production that was workshopped as a part of the 2023 Google News Initiative Pre-Launch Lab. This episode was edited by Trinity Jackson. Our executive producer and host is Casey Willis, and our production coordinator is Liz Moore. The original theme music was composed by Camille Stennis, and our cover art was designed by Aaliyah Johnson. Special thanks to our guests. To find out more about them, you can visit our newsletter at couldbeprettycoolnews.substack.com. Thank you for listening.